Have you ever felt like you're a prisoner, but inside your own mind, just trapped in this endless loop of thoughts you just can't escape? Well, today we are going to dive deep into why that happens, and more importantly, how it might be doing a lot more damage than you think. So let me just ask you, straight up, is your mind a prison? A place where somehow you're both the inmate and the warden? I know it's a heavy question, but for so many of us, it's the quiet, unspoken truth we live with every single day. It almost always starts late at night, right? The whole world is quiet, but your brain is just screaming. It usually kicks off with one simple question, this tiny little seed of doubt. What if I fail? And then the rewind begins. Your mind starts replaying every single conversation, every little interaction from the day, and it's scanning for mistakes. And then it finds one tiny moment, and it just latches on. I shouldn't have said that, on repeat, over and over again. From there, it just spirals. That loop gets faster and faster, pulling in every single insecurity you have until you're just exhausted, anxious, and totally trapped. You start feeling like you're being watched, being judged, and you're completely alone inside your own head. Look, if any of this feels familiar, please know this. You are not broken. You're just stuck in a really powerful cycle. Now, to figure out how to escape this prison, we first have to understand the machine that built it. So let's pop the hood and take a look at what's actually going on inside your brain when it kicks into overdrive. Okay, so first up, meet cortisol. You can think of it as your body's built-in alarm system. It's meant to save your life if you run into, a tiger. But here's the problem. When you're overthinking, your brain can't tell the difference between a real tiger and just a potentially awkward conversation. So it floods your system with cortisol, keeping you in this constant state of high alert, this low-grade panic that never really shuts off. And this is where dopamine makes things tricky. Dopamine is all about reward and motivation. Your brain desperately wants to solve the problem to get that sweet hit of dopamine that comes with a solution. So you analyze, and you keep searching for an answer that will finally bring you some relief. But here's the cruel joke. With overthinking, there often is no real solution to find. So the search itself becomes the trap. And this right here, this is the engine that drives the whole thing. It starts with a trigger, say a vague email from your boss. That immediately sparks a negative thought. Your mind just jumps to the worst-case scenario. That thought triggers the cortisol, stress response, which, let's be honest, feels awful. So your brain, desperate for that dopamine hit of relief, goes into this compulsive analysis mode to solve the anxiety. But all that does is create more what-ifs, more negative thoughts, and the engine just keeps running, completely burning you out. And you gotta understand, this isn't just happening in your head. That engine running all day and all night has a real physical cost. It's chipping away at your health, your work, and even your relationships. So let's break down the actual price you're paying for all this. Just look at this. The most immediate, and honestly the most devastating cost is your sleep. Your body is exhausted, but your brain flat out refuses to switch off. That deep, restorative sleep is where your mind and body are supposed to heal. And overthinking literally cuts that healing process in half, leaving you feeling wiped out before the day has even started. And the damage just cascades from there, doesn't it? You get hit with decision paralysis over the simplest things, like what to have for lunch, because you've analyzed every single option into the ground. Your focus is shot. You start dodging social events because it's just too much. You feel physically exhausted all the time. And it puts a real strain on your relationships because you're never fully present. You're always just trapped in your head. Okay, but here's the twist. And it's a big one. What if I told you that overthinking isn't a sign of weakness at all, but is actually a byproduct of one of your greatest strengths? This might just be the curse of having a really smart, creative mind. Just think about that for a second. The maze of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. It feels impossible to escape. But what if the intelligence, the creativity, the sheer mental horsepower that created that complicated maze is the very same tool you need to find your way out? See, a typical problem-solving mind sees point A and point B and just finds a straight line between them. Simple. But a highly intelligent, creative mind, the overthinking mind, it doesn't just see the straight line. It sees 1,000 possible paths, 100 potential dangers on each path, and countless alternative outcomes. Your amazing ability to see everything is exactly what gets you lost. Your greatest strength becomes your trap. So if your own mind is holding the map, how do you actually learn to read it?
How do you finally take back control from that runaway engine? Well, it's not about fighting your brain. It's about giving it a new set of instructions. And they're simpler than you think. Let's walk through them.
These are your tools. Okay, first, when a thought like, everyone at that meeting thinks I'm an idiot, pops into your head, you need to label it. Just say to yourself, there's the I'm not good enough story again. By naming it, you create distance. You see it for what it is, a story, not a fact. Second, don't try to just stop worrying. That never works. Instead, contain it. Set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes. For those 10 minutes, you can worry your heart out. But when that timer goes off, you have to physically get up and do something else. And finally, maybe the most powerful tool of all, engage your senses. You need to get out of your head and into your body right now. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically touch, 3 things you can hear. This grounds you in the present moment and shatters the loop.
The goal here is not to have an empty mind. I mean, that's impossible. The real goal is to become an observer of your thoughts, not a believer in all of them. You can learn to watch a thought just float by like a cloud in the sky without feeling like you have to jump on it and ride it straight into a thunderstorm. Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own. It can build entire worlds, or it can build a prison. For a long time, it's been using you. But now it's time for you to pick up the map and finally start using it.